one of the great things about being in Antigua, especially around the Caribbean 600, is you bump into people like Brian. And if you didn't know, Brian is, in sailing circles, the guy to have on your boat. He's a bit of a wind whisperer when it comes to making performance multi-hulls go fast. And I think you've seen most of the high-performance multi-hulls out there. And I'm really interested to pick your brain on a few things. And I would love to start off with how did it all start for you and where?
Well, thanks, Mike, for inviting me up here.
Well,
lovely.
A drink was involved. So.
Yes, and a pool, lovely place in Antigua. So thank you very much.
Pleasure.
It's great to see what you've been doing with Rapide.
Yep.
Very impressive.
Thank you.
So I've got started sailing quite young on the east coast of England, which is a very muddy river called the Crouch, which is in Essex. And it was a great place to learn to sail because it was very muddy on each side. You weren't going to get taken away out to sea. You were quite protected, so it was great for going off on adventures.
And you could hit things without damaging?
Yes, you just come to a very soft, slow stop. So I did many sort of adventurous trips and racing small dinghies on this river.
Okay.
And then when I was sort of a teenager, I did a little bit of cruising with my parents in a 27-footer over to France, across the Channel, in the days before GPS.
Okay.
And it always seemed to be foggy wherever we were going, so there's lots of navigation through the rocks. It was too foggy for that. You'd be using something called the radio direction finder, where you took bearings on various...
Way before my time.
Yes. So some viewers may remember that.
Okay.
And then when I was 21, my parents went cruising, and they had a 39-foot monohull that they sailed across the Atlantic, and I did that trip with them. Okay. Then I came over to the Caribbean when I was 21 and started working on boats here in Antigua, which was back in a long time ago. And I really enjoyed that, but I had the hankering to do more racing. So I actually bought myself, with the savings that I'd had from crewing boats and skippering boats, a 35-foot trimaran, a wooden trimaran that was yellow, and it looked like 3 bananas. It was a Dick Newick trimaran. And I had this dream to do the All-Star race, which was single-handed from Plymouth, England to Newport, Rhode Island. And in '92, I did that and won my class in that race. And then I did a race around Britain, two-handed. And after that, I met with Steve Fawcett, and he asked me to come to sailing on his 60-foot trimaran.
Which was PlayStation?
Which was Lakota.
Oh, Lakota.
Lakota at that time. So I did a couple of 100,000 miles with Steve Fawcett on Lakota, and then the Stars and Stripes catamaran from the America's Cup. Do you remember that with the big wing mast? So that was a very high-performance boat in light air. And then helping with the development of PlayStation with Gino Morelli and Pete Melvin, and the building of it in New Zealand, and then the campaigning of that, which ended up doing the round the world record. So that was how I got in almost by chance into multi-hull sailing, but quite early on. Back in 1990.
So when it was like really starting to become popular. But why originally a trimaran? What was the...
Well, I was randomly in Newport, Rhode Island on the boat I was skippering, which was a Swan 48, and this boat came alongside on the outside of the dock, and the dock was full of French reporters, and it was that guy called Philippe Poupon, who had just won the All-Star race of 1988 with a 60-foot trimaran, and he'd crossed the Atlantic in 10 days, upwind.
Wow.
3,000 miles in 10 days, so he'd averaged 12 and a half knots upwind, which seemed mind-boggling at the time. So I thought, that's the way to go. I really had no experience of multi-hulls before, but that just showed me it's the way to go. So I thought, in 4 years, I want to do that race.
And so what was that boat constructed out of? Was it ply? Or was
My boat was cold molded wood with plywood beams.
with like a West system? Or...
West system, epoxy, yeah.
Super.
And I had to repair it a few times, so I got to know.
On the go.
And I really liked actually that the wooden construction.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
And then, so that was the initial part of the journey. And then I remember first reading about you because you were effectively the first English person to be invited, I think, by the Frenchies when they decided to try and break the round-the-world record on Banque Populaire. Is that right?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, so I was with that team for 2 or 3 years, sort of 2011, 2013 time.
Was that through the start and the development of the boat all the way through?
Not the right way through, because right at the beginning, it did the transatlantic record very early on.
Yeah.
And then it tried to do it around the world. It didn't go well. And then I got invited to join the team. And then we had another go, where we broke our daggerboard and had to come back. And on the third time of asking, we broke the record around the world with Loic Peyron as a skipper.
With Luke,
yeah, 45 days.
Okay.
Which the old record was 48. So it was a good jump down in time, and it really was a magnificent sail around.
And how many people were on board?
We had 14.
Okay.
So Loic and the navigator, Juan Vila, were off watch. Yeah. And then we had 3 groups of 4 we would be on for 4 hours off, and then 4 hours standby. Okay. It was a very well set up program.
And so standby was you were able to sleep, but you were, was it 4 on, 4 standby, 4 off? Or was it 4 on, standby?
Yes, 4 off, 4 standby. So there was a sort of sleeping bunk.
Yeah, okay.
And there were some sort of waiting bunks for standby.
Yeah.
Where that's the time you would be cooking if you were cooking for everyone, and helping on deck whenever there's any grinding to go. But if it was very cold in the Southern Ocean, and there was nothing to do on deck, you'd probably stay down below.
And the French let an Englishman cook?
Yes, we all had to cook.
Okay.
Yeah, it was freeze dried, so it wasn't terribly hard. But you were making a great big cauldron of freeze dried.
And what was the scariest part of that record?
Probably we had a week in iceberg zone, and we really had to be super far south. We were at 62 south, which is just on the edge of the Antarctic Circle, so it didn't get dark. However, we had to slow down to keep an eye on icebergs. There was one, bigger than the Isle of Wight that we sailed past, and the cliffs was about 100 meters high. It was quite spectacular.
Do you know how big they are underwater versus out of the water, or it's just a...
Well, I think normally they're sort of 10% on the surface and 90% down below. And most of them you could pick up with radar, or you could use infrared if it was quite gloomy. But I remember one was absolutely circular. It must have just capsized. So the bottom of it, or now the top, was completely round, like a football. And the radar, even though you could see it, and it was about 500 meters wide, it had absolutely no radar target at all. So it was a very good thing it wasn't dark, because we would have run straight into that one.
Scary.
Yeah. So that was a stressful time, and also, all the time you think something could break at any moment. Yeah. So you've got to keep the boat in one piece. And
just for perspective, when you're down that far south, what's around you in terms of a rescue? Is there anything?
No, there's really very little. Yeah. You're 3,000 miles from the Australians. Yeah. 2,000 miles from the Chileans.
That's the Roaring 40s.
Yeah, or the Roaring, or the
50s?
It's the Screaming 60s, I think. Furious 50s and Screaming 60s, I think.
But places now, so on a lot of the races now, they don't actually allow you to go that far south, I think. Is that
No,
right?
no, so the races, I mean, there was a Class 40 race where no one was allowed south of 40.
Okay, yeah.
40 south until you got to Cape Horn, which is 56,
Yeah.
and then you had to obviously go below that.
Yeah.
But I would say a lot of the Vendée Globe is probably about 50 south is the maximum, because they're looking at ice as well, and they'll put in ice limits. Yeah. So we had satellites, rather like same as Sotheby would have used on the last record, satellites that are going out ahead of us and looking for ice.
And so Sotheby just beat your record, was it a week ago? Or?
Yes. Yeah, they just beat the record. And one boat had broken it before, and we held it for probably 3 or 4 years. And then the next boat, Idek, had it for 9 years. Okay. And now Sotheby has just got it down to just over 40 days.
Wow. Incredible.
But that's a foiling old team trimaran.
Okay.
But they had several attempts to get the record, and it's a very hard record to beat now. To get the right weather, avoid the floating objects that might be out there to affect your foils, and it's going to be like the 100-meter record. It's not going to get beaten by a whole amount now.
Yeah, you think it's small increments from here?
Yeah, and a huge investment of time and money to go out and try it now.
Well, what's the? I've just seen the latest old team. I haven't seen a huge amount about it, but it's got like twin facing blades on the rudders, and it's full foiling with like a more of a cup style foil. What are your thoughts?
I think that boat's trying to address some of the problems with the old teams, which is trying to foil early. Yeah. And also foil longer when it's windy and particularly wavy. Okay. So it's trying to have more lifting surface to lift up, and then fly higher. And their problem was the rudders. If it was just a single blade with the T-foil at the end, if they want, it's already rocking a lot under this huge load. Yeah. So to make it deeper, a meter deeper, they've made the rudders like a fixed tripod to hold the foil the horizontal foil very rigidly, and then just have little trim tabs on the back of those tripods to steer with. So it's not the whole thing steering; it's just the back.
Oh, interesting.
So that's a very clever idea, actually. Yeah. I think it may be tricky for them to tack because you've only got those very small little surfaces to turn the boat. Yeah. But that will allow, in a straight line, they're going to be able to fly higher and be being able to do 40, 45 knots in perhaps 3-meter waves. Wow. When now the boats have to slow down in those kind of waves and keep what they say stay more in Archimedean.
Archimedean? Is that what's
that like the Archimedes are basically a displacement boat. Okay. So they need to be in the water more when it's rough. Yeah. But this one should be able to handle higher seas and go quicker. But it's an enormously complicated boat. Okay. With 40 or 44 rams to control, hydraulic rams, to control all the foils and trim tabs, and so boards.
The development of that is going to take, a couple of years, or what do you think?
Yeah, the skipper did an interview, Charles Cordelia, and he said it'll be 3 years before we can do a round-the-world record, because they're just baking in a huge development time. Yeah. But they have a big race coming up next year, which is the Route de Rome, which is a huge race in France, which is held every 4 years, which is single-handed from Saint-Malo in France, northern France, in November, to Guadeloupe, which is, we can almost see Guadeloupe from here. Yes. 30 miles south, yeah.
And so Charles is going to do that?
Yeah, that's their big goal. Wow. Yeah. So the boat has the potential to be the quickest. Yeah. On paper, it should be the quickest, but they'll have a lot of work to get all this complex systems up and running. But it will be great to see it out on the water. Yeah.
And so here in Antigua for the 600, you're on a Mod 70 called Argo, and you've been with that team for quite a long time now. So what's your role within that team? And then also, how does that boat differ from some of the latest old teams that have come out?
Yes. So that boat was designed back in 2011 as a one design class, and they built 7 of those Mod 70 trimarans. And they're all still existing, and they're a beautifully designed boat. And they were designed before the full foiling came out. So it was a development of a class that existed before called the Orma 60. So it was a bigger version of that.
And those are
a little
renowned
safer.
for turning
Flipping,
over.
yes, because they had taller rigs, were shorter and wider.
Yeah.
And so they were more fragile and much more prone to capsizing.
And you sailed an Orma?
I have sailed an Orma, yes. I did a race called the Quebec St. Malo on a boat called Sergio Tacchini, which was an Orma, and we actually won that race. So I was navigating that race, and that was a fantastic.
And how did those boats feel compared with like Argo now, the old Ormas?
That was such a huge development for me from what had come from before, from say Lakota to the Sergio Tacchini, which had early foils in the side, and it was just incredible downwind because you could cant the rig to windward, and the foil would lift the leeward hull up, and it just felt so incredibly stable and fast
so that gives
downwind.
You a lot more riding moment by canting the rig?
Yes, brings a mass of the mast to windward, and also makes the rig vertical to the wind, so you're not spilling any wind with heel.
And so you can cant the mast on the Mod 70?
Yes.
But now you've also developed foils, is that right?
Yes, the leeward side has much more aggressive foils than the original, and the float rudders, so the leeward side and the windward side has T-foils on. So the foil lifts the leeward hull up, and the T-foil changes the attitude of the boat, whether it's bow up or bow down.
There's no trim tab on it, on the foil?
No, but you can move the whole foil forward and aft, so you can change the angle of attack of it. So if you want to lift the boat more, you bring it aft. But that boat wasn't originally designed for foiling, so the main hull has quite a lot of rocker, which means it's quite banana-shaped underneath, and it's quite deep. So if you lift up the leeward hull, the central hull is probably going in the water more, so you're reducing drag on the leeward hull, increasing drag on the... So it's a bit of a balance. Whilst the old teams, they'll have a T-foil on the central daggerboard in the main hull, and normally also on the central rudder. And so it can lift, it will have a less rocker in the main hull, and it can lift the main hull up as well as lifting the leeward hull. So that allows it to fully fly and reduce the drag of all the hulls. So they can do 45 knots, while we're doing 35.
But you just did the transatlantic record on Argo, that's correct? You got the transatlantic record? Yeah.
Not the North Atlantic record from New York to the Lizard in Cornwall, but we are definitely the fastest boat that's ever sailed from the Canaries to the Caribbean, which are just under 5 days.
And that was like a couple of months ago?
That was a couple of months ago, early January, and we did 28 knots average speed through the water.
And how many people were
We had
on
6.
board? Okay.
Yeah, and now for the 600 that's coming up, we're going to have 8. Because there's more manoeuvres and we'll need more grinding power for all the corners.
And 6 is pretty optimum for that type of trip with that longevity and that speed.
Yeah, 6 was really worked out well because we actually had 6 drivers, so every hour we changed. We had quite a good watch system where you were talking about the Banque Populaire watch system. This one, every hour, one pair of people would swap. So there's always a new person every hour. So you'd have 3 people at a time on deck, but every hour you had a 4th. So it was easy to wake someone up a little early if you needed 4 to jibe. But because you're going very fast downwind with the Jenica, the Jenica's trimmed in very tight and you're just sailing to that apparent wind angle. So you don't actually need to trim the sails in the same way that monohull would be trimming on every wave because you're just overtaking the waves and keeping the same apparent.
The monohull would still be in the Canaries as well, wouldn't they?
Yeah, they took a little bit longer to turn up. Yeah. So we could do that trip with less people.
Yeah.
And we only had 3 bunks as well. So it would have been a tight squeeze with any more people.
Yeah.
And you want to keep the weight down.
Yeah, okay.
Of people, then it's your food, then it's your safety gear, then it's your life rafts, things like that.
How many days of food do you plan for on a trip?
I think we took 6 days of food to do a transatlantic.
Okay,
yeah.
So you got a bit on to make sure that you...
Yeah. And all our routing was about 5 days, 3 hours, 5 days, 4.
Okay.
So we're confident we could, if we didn't have a breakage, we could do it in under 6. And actually we did it just on a shade under 5.
Wow. And so you're here with them for the 600, and you obviously sell a lot of different multi-hulls, but you also do a lot of work with Doyle as well on the sales. And I've had a few clients that we've sort of discussed and introduced over the years. What are some of the boats and programs that you've done sales for, and what are some of the things in the sail world that you're seeing that's sort of changing over the years or over the past couple of years?
Yeah, no, it's been very exciting doing the work with Doyle Sails Solent together with the professional racing. Yeah. So there's some specialist sails on Argo that we've developed, which are really working well. So we have the sort of mixed inventory on Argo between North and Doyle. Okay. And then on a lot of the latest gunboats, like all 3 of the ones that were launched last year were Doyle Sails that I was involved with, which was the Gunboat 80 Agave, which has a mixed inventory again. Okay. And then Little Wing, which was all Doyle, and then Layla. Little Wing, the Gunboat 68. Yep. So the sort of the first of the French manufactured gunboats. And then 7202, which is Layla, which is the first of the Flybridge gunboats, which we've been racing both in the Caribbean last year and in the Med this last summer. Okay. And then we've just raced in St. Martin for the multihull challenge for the second time. And it's people are quite surprised that a Flybridge boat is racing so well, but it really is an impressive boat. So
that's really cool.
So we've just been putting some interesting sails on that. There's we've done a new spinnaker which has a structured luff front. So it's
explain a structured luff. So
this is a kind of lens at the front of the sail, but it's made from very high strength stratus material rather than this nylon spinnaker cloth. Yeah. So it makes the front very strong. Okay. So it makes the sail more adaptable to go tighter angles and to handle the high righting moments of a gunboat.
So you get a wider range with the sail?
Yeah, so it can go downwind, and if you want to go tighter angle, you could do that, and you're not worried about the sail blowing up because the most loaded part is super strong.
Does it still have a cable?
No, this one actually has a snuffer. So it's soft enough to snuff up. Yeah. So this is interesting development. Yeah. And then there's a new fabric we're just starting to introduce to gunboats now. It's been raced on Maxi 72 fleet, where it's almost all Doyle sails on those boats. Yeah. And that fabric is called Hybrid. Okay. And it's going to be stiffer, lighter, stronger, and longer lasting than the Stratus that we've had up to now. Okay. So we're very excited and confident to introduce that into the market. So.
Do you think that will trickle down into some of the smaller performance multi-hulls that are fed up with a lot of the delam of the what was the original material where it's just laminated.
The mylar.
The mylar, exactly.
Yes. Which is very slippery. Yeah. It's like the mylar is something you see on windsurf sails, where you've got the window and you can see through. So you can imagine it's quite hard to glue to it.
Great on day one. Yeah. After a while, it starts to deteriorate.
Yeah. And over time probably will have less mylar or get rid of the mylar and go towards this hybrid. But it's really going from the top down, so from the Maxi 72s to the Gunboats, and then it should filter down.
You do a lot of sailing with new people that are coming into the performance multi-hull side, and they're retiring, or they've got a dream to, effectively race a Ferrari around a racetrack or off-road. So, like some of these gunboats and these H&Hs and these super high performance sort of performance cruising boats. In terms of those programs, you come across a lot of owner drivers, let's say, that wanting to get in. What are some of the tips for people wanting to come into those types of programs? Have you got any advice for people wanting to start thinking about these types of boats?
Yeah. Well, first thing I'd say, they're pretty smart already to have thought about going to the multi-hulls.
Yeah.
That's shows some lateral thinking.
Yeah, well, I'm of course biased, but but being able to sail fast, cruise, like all of the things that we know about, and get into anchorages that no other monohull can get into. I mean, there's no reason why you would go and buy an old monoslug, in my opinion. No,
it does seem quite obvious, but you have to be a little bit of a free thinker to appreciate the advantages. And so I've sailed with quite a few owners who've just sort of got into multi-hulls, whether it's mod 70s or fast gunboat type boats.
Yep.
And they all really love the ability to cruise and, well, perhaps not on the mod, but cruise the gunboats and race them hard.
Yeah. So blend the two. So a bit of super yacht, a bit of adrenaline. Flip between the two.
Yeah. And I guess I'm there to make sure firstly it's safe, and because the boats are probably way more powerful than they've used to, so it's like getting in a Le Mans car from a road car
on a wet track.
Sometimes a wet track if it's very windy.
Yeah.
So you just know what dangers to look out for, and then to be able to safely push the performance, because you could be too nervous about the boat and not realize how much performance is there. So it's a matter of taking it close to the edge, but not too far. So, as we said on Banque Populaire, fast but not furious.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
And so are there any devices on board some of these boats that people like to use? Are you just doing it by feel? Is it load cells? Is it systems? What are some of the things, aside from yourself, that are keeping people safe?
Yeah. Well, in the old days, things would on the old wooden boats that I sailed, the wooden trimaran, it was things breaking.
Okay.
That would be self-limiting.
Yeah.
But now everything is very well built. So it's a matter of capsizes is a big danger.
Yeah.
So monitoring the shroud load actually is a good guide to how much power is in the boat.
Okay.
Obviously the heel angle, and really working on the sail crossovers and having that.
So explain what a sail crossover is for people that wouldn't know.
Yeah, so it's a chart, a picture, coloured, like an Excel file, that shows you at what wind angle and wind speed, what sails you should have up.
Okay.
And then with experience of sailing the boat and from other boats, you learn what the limits are for those sails.
So I guess people that are coming into performance multi-hulls, whether it's owner-operators on an Outremer or a Balance or an H&H or a Seawind or whatever the boat is, even at that level, they should have a sail crossover chart, and they should understand what the crossovers are between sails, when they should be reefing. Is that right?
Yeah, I think that's going to be a big help.
Yeah.
So you can plan your trip and you say, in 3 or 4 hours, we're probably going to have to put a reef in, and then everyone's ready for that. Yeah. Or if it suddenly gets up to, say, 20 knots upwind, then you already know, and everyone on the boat, if they're familiar with the crossover chart, will know, okay, that's time to put a reef. It's not really a question. You've got to put the reef in.
It's there, and it's a black and white guide, effectively.
And also on a multi-hull, different to a monohull, you've got the dagger boards. And that's a really big influence on the performance and safety.
In what sort of way?
So if you have too much daggerboard down when it's too windy, the boat becomes quite unstable.
Okay.
It's a bit like having too much main up. So one way to depower the boat is to lift the daggerboards when it gets windy. So that's, again, a bit like your crossover chart. You'll have a crossover chart for where the daggerboard should be. And that's super useful as well.
Yeah, pretty cool. And so with the load sails, you're looking at, or when the boat is then a hull fly boat versus just a non-hull fly boat. And so you're then looking at the load of the cap shrouds up to a certain ton. Is that right?
Yeah. So as an example, Layla, the Gunboat 72, we were just racing it a couple of weeks ago in St. Martin, and we were really watching the cap shroud load upwind, and we were trying to keep it to 17 to 18 tons. And that really coincided with where the boat was hull flying as well. So we didn't want to sail along like a Hobie Cat with one hull way in the air, because that's just overloading the boat too unnecessarily.
Okay. And sometimes you see in a lot of the photographs that come out with, these regattas, you see the boats really flying one hull super high. Is that fast, or what is the fastest mode, do you think, on those types of boats?
Well, sometimes that photo will be taken as the boat sort of launched off a wave, or it's got a sudden gust with the main too high, and the photographer, like Roddy, would love to get that sort of money shot. Mm-hmm. But it's probably not the quickest way to go, because the rig is canted to leeward, so it's not quite as powerful, and you're closer to the danger zone, so you've got less room for manoeuvre. So you're much better with the hull just skimming the windward hull, just skimming the water on a catamaran, and the same on a trimaran, the central hull, just skimming, because it's only a little bit of drag.
And that just reduces the wetted surface area.
You're keeping the heel angle lower, and you've got more, when the gust hits, you've got more room to just come up a little bit without having to panic and ease all the sails. So you're going to be showboating at a big heel angle, but it's not particularly the fastest way to go.
All right, and I think the final one, obviously, we talk quite a bit about different boats and what's on the market. We've got a few pretty cool performance multi-hulls right now. Any that you would put your hard-earned cash down on and like to go cruising and racing on?
Well, I've had a look at the boats. You've got some beautiful boats on the market, and a lot of very high-performance ones at that. And I think one that's coming on the market very soon is Lee Overlay Partners.
I'm joking.
Which is H&H 62, and we've raced against it.
66, I think it is.
H8 66. Yeah, so I've raced against it several times, and it is very powerful, fast boat, and yet super comfortable for cruising. So it's a dual-purpose sort of Le Mans racer that you can take to the shops.
Take cocktailing.
Yeah.
Well, I think it's really cool. We actually just closed on the old Elvis, which is part of the old Argo sort of dynasty.
Yes.
So we just closed on that, so that's going to be joining, and I think it's interesting to see the performance multi-hulls this year. There's a few new Gunboat 68s that are joining. So I think it's actually another period where it seems to be growing again after a bit of a flat period, which I think is great for everyone.
Yes.
Because people are getting a taste for these, and hopefully the racing will continue to grow and improve over the years to come.
Yeah, congratulations on the Max Snell. I've spoken to the owner, Rick, and he is super excited.
Yeah, it's going to be great
by his program. And you're right. I think it's really going to grow. I think in Europe you've got the IMA, International Maxi Association, which has embraced the multi-hull class, and we've got 5 regattas, I think, in Europe that will allow, and I think there'll be 5-6 boats in each regatta, and then the Caribbean is really, really picking up. And I've heard a Max Snell, now called Dreadnought,
Correct.
if I'm allowed to say that,
You are, yeah.
is going to come down to the BVI Spring in March to add to the fleet. Little Wing is here, is a Gunboat 68, and that's going to do
I
this.
sold that one.
Oh, well done.
Yeah,
That's
you.
doing the Caribbean 600.
Yep. Awesome
Oh,
program.
no, this is Little Wing, the Gunboat.
Yeah.
Oh, right. Oh,
Yeah,
okay.
I took the owner of that boat. We spent 4 days on a 68 together, me, him, his wife, and the crew of the boat, and basically ripped around the Caribbean on that. This is about when I was working for Gunboat. And I remember that we were in Guadeloupe. We left Guadeloupe, put the main up, unfurled the A3. We were reaching, 120s, doing 19 to 23 knots, and he was actually looking at a swan at the time, and I knew from that moment when I saw the smile on his face, I was like, this is awesome.
Yeah.
It's what it's all about. You can just tell that moment, and his wife was sat up on the bow having it was, super cool.
Yes.
Super cool.
That sounds amazing. Yeah, you could not love that.
Yeah. So, all right, well, look, I'm not going to take up any more of your time. I really want to thank you for sharing some of your stories and your background, and hopefully we'll get the time to speak again. I'll see you on the race course sometime.
Yeah. Thanks, Spike.
Right,
I really look forward to seeing
Thanks,
Rapide just grow and grow.
Yeah, thank you. Cheers.
Bye.